Yo, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Two Dimes and a Token. I am one of your hosts, Brucknasty. In this particular episode, we had another collab podcast come on, and their name is Florida Men on Florida Man Podcast. Some great friends, Mr. Wayne, who I knew personally, brought his co-host on, Josh, sat down. They are more of a comedy type skit, well, kind of like us, right? Amazing time, man. These guys were absolutely hilarious. They had some great stories to tell. It was an absolute fucking blast sitting here and chatting with these guys. I was laughing the entire time. Josh was one of the most hilarious human beings I had ever met. And Wayne just in himself is goofy, but also hilarious. They had some serious stories to tell. They talked about the origin of their podcast, where it's led to now being a big platform that now supports a big crew and a big cast. So really interesting story. You're definitely sure to laugh across the way. Be sure when you guys get a chance, make sure you go onto our socials, go to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, help us out. Leave some comments in the comment section. Make sure you're going in and telling us your spice of the week. Remember, we want to get you guys engaged. Let us know so we can clap back and tell you what ours is. Other than that, thank you guys so much for tuning into another episode. And without further ado, Florida Men on Florida Man Podcast. Yeah, dude, small world, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
dude.
wild.
Yes. So when we first got started, man, it was just like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize what went into this.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah, it's a lot.
Dude, so when we first started diving into it, I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, you think
it's
you're
a
just
bit.
recording yourself, right?
Yes.
And you're good.
And-
And then it's like levels. There's levels to this.
to it. And the worst part is it's like, especially in our type of context, is a little bit different, right? So our popularity is gonna be predicated on our guest almost.
Sure. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So the higher end the guest,
Yeah, you'll see a bump.
You'll see
Right.
the bump.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So we had a couple guys on that were super big into a little bit more of the sports realm. Where Keon and I come from.
Mm-hmm.
Chris's episode really took off. I think it just connected with a lot of our hometown people because that's a really big problem.
Yeah.
Where we grew up
Yeah.
and where we went to high school and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but enough about me, man. What is first segment? Our drink of the pod is announced by our guests. What are we drinking today?
What is it? Yellowstone?
Is this it?
Let me see. That's it.
Yes.
All I know is it's smooth,
Yeah.
and it's added to Coke for me, and it's still smooth.
Yeah. So it's
great.
Yellowstone Select, man.
Yeah.
Which is really good. It is very smooth. Yeah, I love it, dude. And by the way, thank you for this.
Yes,
it's
of course,
incredible.
dude. Thank you guys for coming down. So, dude, I want to dive right into this. So,
Okay.
Florida Man Podcast.
Florida
in the
Men-
house, right?
Yeah, so Florida Men, plural on
Florida Men.
Yeah,
Florida Men.
plural on Florida Men. So
Yeah.
singular.
Florida
Yeah, there you go. It's perfect, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what it describe to me what this is, because I've seen a couple episodes. I love your guys' clips.
Thank you.
But describe it to some of the other audience.
What is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can say that it is. We wanted to bring a better light to Florida
Yeah.
because the Florida Man meme was really big, especially 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was making Florida look terrible.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, which is justified in a lot of cases because of what happens here. But we wanted to show, hey, Florida's not just a bag of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's like we did it with humor because it was, I mean, we are self-aware, like we know that Florida's wild. But it's like there's also, if you look past the headlines, there's a ton of really awesome history. One thing that we talk about frequently is Tuttle, who she went down. She's called the mother of Miami. She's the founder of Miami.
The only female founder of a major city.
Yeah. And she's incredible.
Really?
Yeah. She got Flagler to build a railroad down to Miami and just to expand the state.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's something that like a lot of folks with Florida, like, you know, so we do cover the funny headlines, we cover all the humorous news, but we like to dive deep also into the history of Florida that the news usually will gloss over because it doesn't sell. You know,
Of course.
Yeah.
History's a hard sell.
Yeah.
History is a very hard sell, man.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Now, did you guys come up with this because like you're from here? Because it feels like you guys have a massive connection with the state, like a lot of pride in it. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually born in Louisiana, but I only spent a year there.
yeah,
So, and then it was Central Florida from then.
nice.
Every now and then it comes out though, because he still wears Mardi Gras beads.
Yeah. Well,
he?
I
24
earn them. I don't just wear them, I earn them. So, and I mean, honestly, you got to get with the times. You got to get more and more extreme. They don't just want to see like nips anymore. They want to see it all.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You're absolutely 100% right. When I go down there, my expectation has raised.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
I wanna
Oh, you
see
want
tuck,
basic
I want
beads?
to see the nip,
Yep.
the whole thing.
Turn around.
Well, I'll say it's interesting you say when I go down there to Louisiana because like Florida doesn't always feel like the South.
Yeah.
No.
You know, and because you can drive 45 minutes in any direction, and the culture will shift dramatically.
Yeah.
You know, so you got like the hillbilly crowd, and you've got the Cuban crowd, and you've got the college crowd, and there's all these different demos depending on what city you're in.
The elites.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
yachts.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Florida is an ecosystem.
And it's so unique, and I think that's for us. Like that was because I'm born and raised in Florida, and so for us that was a lot of. You know, we wanted folks to see the Florida that we grew up in, partially. But then on the other side of it, the deeper we looked into the state, we were like, oh, this is incredible.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
This
Fascinating
is really
things, yeah.
fascinating stuff, man. We learn every week. I'll probably text him and go, this is crazy.
Yeah.
What I just learned. You know what I mean? Really, like,
Yeah.
we've been doing it for 5 years, man. And every week it's like, this is crazy. We get
But
to do this.
I also get the text of, I'm afraid I'm going to run out of stories. And then it's maybe 48 hours later, and he hits like some, like, I don't know, hill of stories that he's never seen before. And he's like, wow, I just uncovered something.
It's a gold mine.
Just found
Yeah.
database.
Oh, yeah.
We're good for 6 months.
Well, we have low hanging fruit, man. I mean, like it really is, dude. Like
Yeah, the news.
the news writes itself. When folks come onto our show, we call it Mic 3 because we have an open mic. It's myself and Josh are the hosts, and we have an empty chair and a mic. And so our guests, well, just like this, will come on and they're tasked with bringing the headlines, bringing the Florida Man headlines that they like from the week.
Yeah.
And every time I'm like, hey, you guys. You need any help finding headlines? And they're like, no, we're good. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
it's going to be a great week. You know, like,
it's going to be awesome. When,
Yeah.
you know, the guest comes absolutely prepared. It's like,
Oh, 100%.
I'm good.
yeah. It's great. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, almost
That's
there's too
spectacular.
much.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know what to pick from. You know, that's what the guest is usually like. I don't know which direction.
It is true, and dude, with the Florida Man headlines, that's what you end up with a lot of the times. Is if you're filtering through, what you're filtering through is kind of like the heavier stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you're
Like,
filtering out.
yeah, we're filtering out stuff because we view our show as an escape, right? So you want to come on our show and listen to our show to escape reality and have a good laugh and learn something, you know. And so what we don't want is for you to tune in expecting that and you get like the most depressing headline ever. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Which they've slipped through. I mean,
Occasionally, yeah.
The DoorDash guy that got cut up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Holy crap. What?
Yeah. I guess that guy was delivering food and another guy was fresh out of prison from up north and just grabbed the driver.
Cut him up.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Killed him
Yeah.
and cut him up.
Yeah, the sheriff said it's the most demonic thing I've ever seen, and he's been in the business for like 35 years.
Yeah.
But
intense.
and so again, that happens in Florida. I mean, it happens everywhere, but it happens in Florida. And so the week that we covered that headline, I think a guest brought it,
Our guest brought it for sure. Yeah.
and then you have to pivot and go, time to be funny. You know what I mean? Which is tough.
Yes. That's
the-
incredibly tough,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
How do you what's going through your mind in an instance like that where you have sometimes, like you said, a super serious headline and all of a sudden you got to transition your entire episode to now look at the lighter side? Like, how do you, what's going through your mind during that?
I
How
think
do you
it's
do that?
always be sensitive to the families.
Yeah.
That's number one, the victims'
Right.
families. And because everybody, you know, knows someone that stuff has happened to.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the heavy is there, right? We just try to bring the lighter side. So I don't know how we got out of it, when we had that headline happen.
Yeah.
But I know we did.
We did, and I think Josh is 100% right. I mean, at all times, we're just trying to be sensitive to the folks who it's because for us it's news. For them, it's real life. That's their story, right? Yeah, so even if it's not dark, let's say it's something funny. And the only time we really go really hard is if the person who the story is about deserves the notoriety, right? Yeah. So like if someone steals 4 cops' cars and then like, burns down a neighborhood, us talking about it on the show in an unflattering way is not going to make it any worse for them. Yeah. They've already done the crime,
And plus they'll probably never hear it.
Exactly.
In prison.
Exactly, yeah.
Ideally,
which I mean, honestly, dude, I'm not going to lie. If our prison market went up, that'd be kind of cool. Like if we like, it was like,
prison bread?
If we're rocking your show in the Fed up in Gainesville.
Yeah.
I would love it. But I think the sensitivity is the important part, man, is just remembering that the families, these are real human beings and we are blessed to do what we do, but we don't want to do it at the expense of innocent folks.
Yeah. 100%. No, completely understand. So take me back to the first days and the origin of this. What year did you guys start this?
2017.
Yeah, I don't even know.
2017. Josh had the idea. It was, I think 27 or it's been 5 years. This November's 5 years.
So I was listening to podcasts on NPR, and I slowly got it, into Wayne to tell him about it,
Yeah.
Like you got to hear these new things. It's just like people talking and telling stories.
Bam.
And,
wait.
Perfect.
Wait.
And, he's like, okay. And so I started with a podcast called like Snap Judgment.
Yeah.
And it's just by an awesome host, Glenn Washington. And I finally convinced Wayne, I'm like, we have stories. We went to the same private Christian high school.
Yeah.
And the stories from there are insane. We should do something where we tell those stories. And so we got together and kind of fleshed it out and realized we'd be done after 3 episodes.
That's very true. I mean, we had the initial conversation, and it was a quick yes. I think.
Yeah.
We wanted to work together.
Yeah.
But that I think we were sitting at your kitchen table at your old house and going like, realistically, how long can we make this work? I think I brought a yearbook.
Yeah.
We were going through like what will trigger these memories from high school.
100%.
And I think we wrote down 10 ideas and like 3 of those stood out.
Yeah.
Really?
And then it was like count on like people reaching out to us with their stories.
Right.
But that's also hard to get when you're in the early days.
Right.
Very.
So we knew like the plan wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
And then Florida Man meme was like hot.
God, it was, I mean, the fact that like we did some market research and it wasn't intimidating. Like, there wasn't like, I expected to find 100 Florida Man podcast. We found none.
Yeah.
And there were some. I just turns out I'm terrible at researching stuff. For a history show, I mean,
I am garbage at research.
Yes,
he's honed the skill though.
I've gotten better.
Yeah.
But fortunately, for some reason or another, folks, kind of came to our show, and so I think that first 6 months, we were like blown away that people were listening. That was like such a huge thing for us. And then episode 100. Which took us 2 years to get there, but episode 100 was like another catalyst where it was like we saw the brand recognition go through the roof, and it was like people were stopping us and going like, "Oh, you're on the podcast," and then we were like, "Oh," and when you start having folks who recognize the brand but they don't listen to podcasts, it is kind of weird because it's like they're like, "Oh my god, like we know you guys, that's awesome." It's like, "Oh, you listen to the show?" Nope.
No, not at all.
I don't listen to podcasts.
I'm not a podcast guy. I don't listen to podcasts.
Yeah. So, but it's from there it was just no looking back, man. We came up on episode 236 on Wednesday, and
that's awesome. Congrats. Dude.
Thank you, man. Yeah, and so it's just been a lot of fun.
It's almost full circle now because we were in the green swamp for episode 100.
Yes.
I don't know, searching for some
monster
out there. And I got startled and I ran and we made a video of it. Of course. And now Saturday night we're gonna be in Dade City at the Green Swamp for the Skunk Ape Run
Marathon.
We're gonna be firing the gun.
We're gonna be starting off the
Really?
Yeah, we're not doing the
holy
the
crap, that's
jogging.
awesome.
So we're returning to the Green Swamp to be the officiants for this marathon, and the mayor's going to be there, and it's this whole ordeal, and that's the kind of stuff that I think is neat, though, because it's like, you know, like, and we can talk about all these things, but when we get invited to Tampa Bay Comic-Con, that turned into us getting invited to the Atlanta Comic-Con, and then like. All of a sudden the brand begins to grow, and we find ourselves in this role of, you know, we're a podcast, but you almost have to be amorphous because most of the people who love our brand don't listen to podcasts. So then you're going
such an odd.
It's an odd place to be where you're having to develop content for folks that you didn't think you were going to have to develop content for these folks, and then you know, you started off as a podcast, and now you're having to learn all this new stuff, but that's it's a good problem to have. We're fortunate to be there. But it's that's Florida, baby. You know what I mean?
That's Florida, baby.
You know, like
a lot of those invitations come because if you hang out with Wayne for too long, especially when he's on a mission, he's gonna stop every person and talk to them.
That's true.
So we went up to Atlanta for Atlanta Comic-Con, and I mean, just in the main hall. Just stragglers walking by, and he's just grabbing them, talking to them, and it's like the third person. The guy's like, "Yeah, I mean, I run the Comic-Con that you're at here." Yeah, so we met the guy that runs it because Wayne walked up to him and was like, "Hey, we're gonna be, you know, in this room at this time. Would you come to the show?" And then we walked into another board game room, and Wayne starts talking. And the guy's like, "Yeah, we run Wasabi Con," and then he built a relationship, and now they want us to come. So. Dude, a lot's incredible. Exposure, but a lot is on Wayne. I mean,
well, thank you for saying
his,
that.
Charisma.
I have to, man, because and this is going to turn into, you know, a circle jerk, but it's genuinely. I was telling somebody on Wednesday night, like, Josh is the funniest guy I've ever met in my life. So you would and we've known each other since we were 16. You would think eventually you'd run out of stuff to make the other person laugh. But we never do. Like, we're always laughing at each other's expense or at the stories that we're telling each other, that mainly that Josh writes and comes up with. You know, these are hilarious stories. So like, for me, that's not my natural tendency necessarily. And so it's like, what is a natural tendency for me is to talk to strangers. That's why I was almost kidnapped so many times growing up. And so so
you're that dude in the van, just be like, "Hey, I want to talk to that guy."
100%.
I think so much where like the local ring of pedos are like, there's a boy out there, and I think he's bait. He's like a bait car.
Grady Judson, him.
Bait boy.
Exactly.
Yeah, they call him bait boy.
There's the kid. Everybody knows that's the bait.
That's the guy, man.
Yeah, you put him in your car, you're doing 5 to 10.
Well, yeah, easily. And so, but I mean, like, we're yin and yang, and I think that's cool. But also, too, we're still learning, man. We just, you know, like about 2 months ago, had a conversation about playing to each other's strengths. You know what I mean? And like,
which came really late. You know,
you would think 5 years into it.
Yeah.
But it's true though, man. It's like I don't have, and it takes the pressure off. Like, I don't have to worry about being funny if Josh is going to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to do that. Like, it's I know whatever comes from his energy, and then like vice versa. Like, as far as like, if you know, most people don't want to stop and talk to strangers. So like, if I'm there, he doesn't have to worry about, like, you know, getting kidnapped because they're going to take me instead.
Carrying the show or a conversation. I couldn't do it, but Wayne's a natural host, and he just carries. I don't know, everything.
Being able to guide the conversation. I totally 100%. Understand where you're coming from, because that's in ours. That's kind of what my role is. My role is to kind of push the conversation a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. Anybody that's done it, you know how sometimes that can be very challenging, 100%. Depending on the type of person. It's like, because ours again is guest driven.
Yeah, sure.
It can be very difficult because you have some people are just very one word answers.
Yeah.
And you're just like, How did you feel about that?
I felt good.
Yeah, I felt good. So it's, you know what I'm saying? So, and then having that other side, like that's what Chris would be somewhat of. Him and I would combine a little bit more for a comedic relief, because I told you guys a story about my brother.
Yeah.
my brother's brain cells never developed past 17 because of his life choices.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Understood.
In prison.
Yeah.
But besides that, he's doing great.
Does he have any friends? Does he have any friends there?
in prison?
Then give him our show, man.
Yeah.
Ironically, man. So I'll tell you guys one story. He's gonna be mad I told him he wasn't here.
No.
But it's an inside joke we have all the time. So he has a ton of prison tattoos, right? Okay. And in one of our episodes, we interviewed with a tattoo shop, and he showed them off a little bit. Yeah. Okay. And even the artist, the guy who does all my work, he said those actually aren't bad. Right. They're not bad at all.
Nice.
Yeah. So he's telling us the story. He gets put in what they call the box. It's almost like isolation type thing. But in their isolation where he was, I think in Tallahassee or something, he had a bunkmate. Yeah. And he went in and he knew this guy. He didn't know him per se. He's never spoken to him, but he'd seen him around before. Mm-hmm. And so he goes in and the guy immediately looks at him and he goes, "Hey man, I want to apologize because I'm on a vegan diet."
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah.
So he goes, he's like, now then he goes in to explain. You can have different, depending on what type of, religion and those types of things, you can have different diets while you're in there.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So if you go on vegan diet, you get more calories because they give you more food.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of people will say, "Oh, I'm vegan."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow. That's cool.
Yes.
Then part 2, it's like rough.
Yeah, exactly. Part 2 is atrocious. So he comes in and he's like, "Hey man, I'm just letting you know I'm on that vegan diet, so I'm just your boy is gassy."
Yeah. Honestly, I thought it was going to be like, "Hey man, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to stab you."
No.
Because that would be like my fear.
See,
same.
I don't tell those stories unless it's here.
Yeah.
So anyway, my brother's the first thing he ever said to him. It's the first time he's ever talked to this human being ever. Yeah. And that's the first thing he says. He says, "No, but don't worry, bro. Don't worry. It's all good. It's all good." And he goes, No. You don't understand. Yeah. It's coming out hot."
No. And he's in isolation with this guy.
Yes.
No. They just met.
Yeah, they just met. Yeah. We interrupt this podcast to bring you Sunterra Solar Solutions, a leading-edge solar company committed to making sure they provide a phenomenal experience to its customers. Going solar was one of the best decisions that I ever made. Not only did they provide me a no-hassle experience, it didn't feel like a sales experience. It felt like an amazing person-to-person having a conversation on whether solar was going to be right for me. I was fortunate enough to not only lower my monthly energy cost, but they gave me an option to be able to create a stabilized monthly bill that I could prepare around. I qualified for a new customer incentive that put cash in my hand after installation, as well as I qualified for a tax credit at the end of that same year after I had it installed. All in all, not only was it the best decision I ever made, I lowered my monthly energy costs, I stabilized my bill, I put a ton of cash in hand. It felt like I got paid to go solar. And my most favorite part that I haven't even mentioned, it eliminated my exposure to future increasing rates from the utility companies. So if you think going solar is the right thing for you, by all means, hit us up in our DMs. We can connect you with a sales associate today. And now, back to the episode. So from that point on, little did he know, fast forward like 7 to 9 years. I don't know the exact time frame here. Anytime Chris and I are driving around or anytime we're hanging out at all times, he'll look at me whenever he's got one and he'll look at me, he'll be like, "Hey Mike." I'm like, "What's up, bud?" "It's coming out hot."
Yeah.
That's so good.
And now
man.
You're stuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you're stuck,
now we're stuck for life. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell me this, guys, on your guys's, you guys have different segments though, because you have full length episodes.
Yeah.
And you have skits.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think you kind of leaned in, like you write a lot of the skits. Is that correct?
Honestly, a lot of the most popular ones, Wayne and I just sat down one afternoon and knocked like 10 out.
Really?
Yeah. And it was like the toilet paper on the foot.
Yo, that was, if you haven't seen that, my God, it was the dad one, right?
Yeah.
Yes. It's like, you just see it dragging along. So something to say, I'm your father. And then you see him look up. Wayne's like, "Come here, son."
Yeah. And as much credit as Wayne gives me for being a creative writer, that was his.
Yeah.
Well,
that was awesome.
What Josh was saying too about us writing them in bulk, because we're together every day.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like it's your dream to work with your best friend to write content together. But then when that becomes a reality, it is tough to go like, okay, now we have to sit down and work. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so like now let's sit down and let's write skits let's write episodes. That's hard to turn on.
It's very hard.
Especially sober whenever like you're trying to like 11 in the morning. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to, and so we sit down and just go, okay, like, and usually it's like Josh will go, all right, hypothetically, he throws out an idea and then we just build on it, you know, and.
Exactly.
And you write for an hour and whatever sticks. And so we do have the episodes and then we do have, you know, social media content that's, you know, it's not full length, but it's just like skits and stuff.
That's what I was noticing because that's where, and I think you guys will agree with me on this. A lot of times in today, if you're going to attract new audience, it's got to be through those short skits.
Yeah, right.
Now,
yeah.
Which it's very difficult because when I got into the game, I like the full length stuff.
Me
like
too.
I love sitting down and Joe Rogan is not my number one podcast, but let's be real. He's the OG.
He's influential. He's influential. Yeah.
He's one of the OGs.
Who can go 3 hours and carry it?
Yeah.
Every day.
It's not a lot.
Yeah.
It's not. And that's
a skill.
Something I can listen to that. And like, I think the reason why I really loved it is because I have a very similar, like, what do you want to say? I don't want to say skill set. It's not a skill set. It's a similar idea or liking where he is genuinely curious, like genuinely 100%. Curious about the other person.
Yeah.
No matter the topic.
Yeah.
Right. And he's like, wow, it's just like education that feeds him. And that's something that I was so inspired by.
Yeah.
And being able to sit down, we've changed our format just because we were shooting 2 hours and we were splitting up into parts.
Wow.
And we got so much feedback because we used to split and everyone hated it.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're like, yeah, no, don't hate the split. Hate the split. We want it all at once. Hate the split.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden we put twice. We tried this. An hour 45 is usually our average that we would go.
Wow.
And because I like to ask in-depth questions. I want to get the whole story.
Yeah.
You know? But once the very next episode we told to announce everybody we're not split anymore, 70% of the people dropped off their 45 minutes anyway.
What?
Wow.
And it was like, okay, so what's the point?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So you're like, okay, so we had to kind of kick back, and now we kind of skid more toward that hour part, and we have a couple segments we go through. But, but like you said, the skit part, it's fun.
Yep.
But for me, that's not the super passion.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You find yourself making content, I mean, truly for other people.
Yeah.
And when we got started, I think we were making it for ourselves, honestly.
Yeah.
It just,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, like, and then obviously you want people to listen. You want folks to, you know, be a part of it. And so now we're at a point where there's a brand to maintain. There's a lot that has to, you know, go into it. So we're thinking about, you know, what's this crowd going to think about this, and what are the non-podcast people going to think about? You know what I mean? Like all that comes into play now
because it's how to get the non-podcast people.
Right. Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now, when you guys were originally putting together, like you said, 2017.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what was your format like? From what I heard a little bit earlier, episode 1. A little rough.
It was rough.
Yeah. Episode 1 doesn't exist.
Any podcast that starts and says episode 1 was just natural and great, you can almost guarantee that podcast is going to suck.
Like 100%.
Yeah, because it's difficult, dude.
Yeah, it is.
That's why all the instructions on every forum about, hey, I'm looking to start, the first reply is always just start. Just start.
Right. Yes.
Because you're not going to be good. You can't just start and be great. So it's just start, and then you'll find the way. You'll find the path.
And again, like, dude, like we've known each other for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And if you can't sit down with your best friend and carry on a conversation, you know, obviously there's something going on there, but that really doesn't make a podcast, right? Because it may be fun for you, but who wants to listen to that? Right. So you have to have some sort of structure and some sort of give and take and purpose. Right. So our first episode, we had like a loose outline, but it was like
bring headlines.
Yeah.
That's it.
Tell a story.
Yeah.
And then we go back and listen to it and we were like, no one can ever hear this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Easily.
Like I will burn the laptop.
My children will be embarrassed.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I think we knew we wanted to do it, but that first session was tough.
I think 1 through 60 or 70.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't listen to.
That's true. That's true.
Really?
You know,
so slow.
I was just about to say it's like someone slowed it down in post and didn't tell us.
Yeah.
Because like
our reaction
we
time,
didn't,
our conversation.
We didn't have the rhythm.
Yep.
And then somewhere around after the first year mark, it was like our first 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
We were like, we just picked it up and we were like, oh, I think we're good. We can stop stressing, be ourselves a little more.
Yeah.
And from that point forward, it was just
it's
fluidity. But I mean, if you're new to our show and you start at episode 1, bless your heart.
Yeah, sorry.
Start at the new ones and work back.
Yeah. Start at the new
So
ones
by the
and
time
work
you get there, you at least hopefully love us and you aren't like,
you
know.
understand the journey.
Yeah.
Oh man, so I gotta tell you similar thing. So I'm a huge fan of one of the podcasts inspired us right here is Bustin' with the Boys. So
Okay.
we went and met them, got all their signatures on the hat
That's
and everything.
Cool.
But I went back and watched their very first episode. And I was like, I got 4 minutes into it. I was like, yeah, this is not what they put out.
Yeah, 100%.
Like it's cool. Like hey, I saw the OG episode, but it's
Right.
like,
But you know what's interesting? Because you have to, I mean, what other form of entertainment are you consistently asking people to devote hours of their life to? You know what I mean? Like, because, I mean, if you think about it, like with music, you hand somebody a CD and, or like a, you know, a track and you go, hey, if you hate it, you've only lost 2 minutes of your life. What's the big deal? No, there's no whatever. And so to ask somebody to listen to long form content or to watch long form content is such an investment, especially if they aren't fans of that type of content.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how do you get folks, and we're still, I mean, every podcast I think is still working on this, but how do you get folks who don't already listen to podcasts to listen to your podcast?
Yeah.
It's an investment, right?
It is.
It's much easier to go to another audience and go, hey, you're already listening to podcasts, just listen to ours too.
Give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Go to a stranger who goes, well, you want me to do what for an hour? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, our family doesn't.
No, my mom, no, our parents 100% forget the show exists.
Yeah.
It's funny. I mean, 'cause someone stopped me on the street. We were having dinner with my parents, and some people stopped me on the street to talk about the show and ask for an autograph. And my mom goes, what was that about? And I literally, she was like, what was that for?
The show. I do the show still.
I'm like, yeah, I mean,
Do
like,
the show.
I'd be like, hey, I don't know.
yeah, like,
Don't worry
mom,
about it.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, Josh, what do you think as far as like like what keeps us like,
What keeps me going is trying to surprise like Wayne and the guest with something that's going to make me laugh.
Yeah.
that's true.
That's my goal. I mean, I've written scripts where like Wayne, I'll instruct Wayne, and these will be audio unfriendly.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just for me because I want to laugh. I want to, and so like
I know you guys are here, but this is about me.
yeah. So I'll write a script, where Wayne and the guest has to like play parts, and then I'll put in like parentheses when you say this, do this action, and it'll be like put a peace sign over your mouth and stick your tongue out. And I know that Wayne won't get it immediately until he like gets his hand up to his face, and then that will just like I'll just cry laughing.
Yeah.
So
It's funny how like that when people want to know, like we always try to be so honest about our show.
Yes.
And it's like, bro, like you want to know the truth? Like our secret is we try to make each other laugh. We try to surprise each other.
Yep.
And there's not really like a secret recipe or sauce other than we try to have fun with it. And then like, even if you have a particularly unfunny week, you can still make interesting content from history.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like it's a win-win, dude.
Yeah.
Like it's but I will say like it's impressive when you think about 230 some odd episodes later, this guy has never had an episode where he didn't surprise me or make me laugh. So like like every week I'll stress of like, man, is my story good enough? Is the episode good enough? And vice versa.
Oh, 100%.
And it's like so you never get over the nerves.
Yeah.
It's just now you have potentially more people to disappoint.
Yeah, I almost
right.
I almost cancel every week. I mean, like the text is written out and like saved under favorites. So I can just like copy and paste.
We're
like,
done.
Dude,
We're done.
Yeah, dude, I can't this week because it's nerve wracking.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's what, dude, it surprises people all the time because people like there is a parasocial relationship that develops.
Yeah.
And so whenever you're on the air, it feels very social. It feels very whatever. And people don't realize like the personality of like, introversion or maybe you're just tired that week or whatever.
Yeah.
That you have
toothache can really knock you out of your zone.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to come and talk and laugh.
And you're hurting.
And you're like, oh, I got toothache.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be funny.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have to leave it at the door.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it's
no, I agree with you. I agree with you so much. It's so funny because these are things that we're learning. Because remember, we're young. Like with us, we're tiny. You know what I'm saying? We have a small little kind of group of people. Cool. Sometimes family. Sometimes the only positive thing is my mom does watch our show.
Heck yeah.
So that's good.
Heck yeah.
We're one step above. So. But she tells me all the time, she's like, you said the F word and I shut it off. I said, okay. So, but at the same time, like, yes, I think my big thing is not necessarily the nerves of worrying about the guest, like having the approval, right? My thing is, and anybody that has watched will tell you, I am a perfectionist. And I go OCD, like overload. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about like Shredder from Ninja Turtles, right?
Yeah.
So if a clip isn't perfect, like I'll sit there for 2 hours and just like, no, it's gotta be right.
Yeah.
And that's the part I'm slowly starting to realize, like, hey man, sometimes you just gotta get it out.
Yeah, you just gotta release it.
See how it does. You know what I'm saying? Learn for the better, because on your next one, jumping into making that skit or that pod, you already know not to make that mistake.
Yeah, that's true. That's good.
You know what I'm saying?
And sometimes those like trying to get it right and then not getting it right. I've sent those clips to Wayne, and I'm like, it cuts off early. I just couldn't get it right, and Wayne will be like, actually, that's the trend. That's what's funny now. Yeah. Surprisingly, is like it cuts off like during the joke, and the whole time I'm stressing like I got to get the joke in there somehow. Yeah. But we have like cross talk. Yeah. And so it's hard to like, but.
Well, and also too, sometimes you just need a different set of eyes.
Yeah.
On it, because like he has sent me stuff and been like, this is garbage, but it's filler for the week, and I'm crying laughing. Yeah. Like I'm crying laughing at it, and I'm like, and I hesitate to say like this is some of the funny stuff you've sent me in a long time, because then he's like, well, what the heck, man?
This is true.
But it's funny though, you know, and so like sometimes you just have to like give it to somebody else and go like, hey man, like this is bugging me here. It's not that great, and they get them to look at it and go, no, actually, that's not bad, dude. Yeah, you know, I'm hypercritical of myself. Yeah. So I'll write a story that I think is bomb, and I will be so excited about it. And then the night of, I'll deliver it, and I'll text him within half an hour. Was the story okay?
Yes. Easily. The text that hit my phone on the ride home, I'm like, dang, dude, just let me get home.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right? Yeah, dude, and you know what? It's God, it's so funny because you guys, everything you're highlighting, I'm like, oh my God, I feel that in my bones. You know what I'm saying? So it's insanely, you're right. It's like the nerve wrack of getting started, but then like you guys already highlighted, just go. Just go for it. You find all kinds of stuff. And then, like you said, you have 10 times more fun doing it.
Yeah, 100%, dude.
So what would you guys say, as a matter of fact, let's switch. I'm going to go one at a time here. Let's go, Wayne. What would you say is the first podcast that really inspired you to want to get into this line of work? And then if you want to follow, Josh.
Please.
Yeah, that's a great question. I discovered the podcast because of Josh, and it's called The Dollop.
Yeah.
And The Dollop is it Garrett Anthony?
Yeah, Gareth. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Dave Anthony.
Dave Anthony and Gareth
Reynolds.
One's a comedian, and the other is a historian, or
I think they're both comedians. Okay. One just tells the stories.
Yeah, and so they essentially just deep dive into like wild, random, historic stuff, and the other person has never heard it before. And so honestly, like that was a huge inspiration for us. Yep. We were driving somewhere. We were driving up from Fort, where all the yachts are, Myers.
Yeah.
And he puts on this podcast. He was like, hey, we got 3 hours to drive. I put this on. He puts it on, and I'm engaged. Like, I'm just listening. And then there's like, and it's like, well, what is this again? Oh, it's called a podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it's called a podcast.
Yeah, it's called a podcast.
Yeah.
And I listened to the Dollop for probably a year before we even started having conversations about starting a show. And that was the only podcast I ever listened to, besides the occasional Rogan episode if I like the guest. And to this day, it remains the same, dude. Like, I don't really listen to podcasts. Like I just, it's
he's really not
my
a
thing.
podcast guy.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Which is oddly enough, it's so
very
odd,
surprising.
dude. Yeah, but I just
like,
don't.
hey, what do you do? I run podcasts. Oh, you like podcasts? Not really.
Yeah.
Can't get
But
into
I'm in
them.
one.
Yeah.
I just can't get into it.
It's not my thing.
It's not my thing, dude.
Yeah.
But it's true though.
Yeah.
Like I mean, and like even when the Dollop started doing some really special episodes, Josh would be like, "Man, have you heard this one?" And I was like, "Actually, I'm kind of behind." You know, and
they're an hour long.
Yeah, they're longer shows.
Yeah.
So it does feel a bit hypocritical to ask somebody to listen to my show that's an hour long and then go, "Yeah, I don't really listen to podcasts." But
I don't really do that.
but it was the Dollop for me, man. Yeah.
Honestly, same.
Same.
The Dollop is just their relationship and how they tell it. It's very similar to what Wayne and I do.
Yeah.
For Wayne's segment. So I've never heard what Wayne's going to tell, the history lesson, and I wouldn't put me anywhere close to Gareth Reynolds. But the improv, and I don't know how his brain works, but he's brilliant in his reaction, and Dave Anthony is a brilliant storyteller. But they're just an awesome pair, and I'd recommend the show to anybody.
Oh, still,
almost any episode you can pick up, and it's like, this episode's on like truck nuts, and there's a war. There was a war between like inventors
Really?
of truck nuts, trying to get the patent,
So wild.
and like they go into it, and
that's a unique ideal. You never thought that story would exist.
oh no, truck nuts war,
Yeah.
no.
Well,
What is that?
Well, that's what I'm saying is I think that like recently too, like, you kind of come back to your roots. I think there are things that reminded me of the early days of our show, the swamp run that we're doing that we're hosting on Saturday. Really excited about that. But again, it does cycle you back around to the early days of your show and the memories there. And it made me want to listen to like the Dollop more frequently because I find myself, I'm inspired by my friends and I'm inspired by, the folks that we look up to, but I don't look at Rogan and go like, man, I wish I could do what Rogan does. But I look at like the Dollop and go, man, I want to tell stories like that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And we've been telling stories for 5 years.
Yeah.
But now, it's gotten me recently to go back, man, I just want to get better. I want to, and not that I'm down on myself. I just want to get better, dude. You know what I mean? Like I want to always be getting better and
Improve your craft.
yeah, 100%, man. So
That's amazing, dude. That's absolutely fantastic. So, have you guys ever, obviously, because you guys both started this together, or was there someone else involved? It was just you two?
there's 3 of us initially.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then success begat him, and he moved on.
Yeah.
Not in podcasting.
His
but-
name's Barack Obama.
Yeah, it was a weird transition just to see him become senator and then president.
I fucking knew it.
Yeah, I know.
saw him.
You recognize
Episode
that voice.
3.
Episode 3.
Well,
That voice.
it was called Yes We Can.
Yeah,
Yes We Can podcast.
and he could. Yeah.
No, but we had 3 initially, and so he his
That Barack Obama's just hitting me, bro. I played with it great, but it was like, oh my God.
but he's doing really well for himself, and he's in entertainment, but just not in podcasting, and so but that was something that I think like going from 3 to 2, when you talk about having to learn your craft and get better at your craft, just the dynamic shift of now it's one-on-one, and it was
painful.
It was painful.
Yeah.
And then for 3 or 4 episodes, we're going like, hey, I love the business being 50-50, but the show itself.
I had to sit down, and I don't have serious talks with anybody. Yeah. Even like doctors, where I need to have serious talks with them. I don't, but I'm like, hey, I don't know if it's working with 2.
Yeah.
We need to consider a 3rd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was hard, but I'm like, Wayne and I, we have a hard time surprising each other.
Right.
Yeah.
With jokes and with laughter, and I think that's what the audience likes, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We've never like polled the audience like, what do you enjoy?
Yeah.
About the show. But it was hard, and we had the conversation. We're like, we do. We should bring on just a rotating third.
Rotating third.
Yeah.
Well, and there hasn't really been anything, this is what's cool about Josh and I, is that like there hasn't been anything. Neither one of us are really like traditionally yes men, but yet there hasn't been anything that like surprised the other person from a business perspective of like, if we get offered something, if there's like a something that we need to negotiate with another party, the third voice on the show, a rotating mic. These are all things that even though we were feeling it, like when we have the conversation, it's a tough conversation to have, but 99.9% of the time we're on the same page.
Yeah.
And if we aren't initially, we get there in 20 minutes, so that makes it easier to go like, yeah, we'll have a tough conversation because worst case scenario, we're going to end on the same page.
Yeah.
And as a company, when that conversation was happening, we had been talking about how this 50-50 thing feels good, but it was mainly from like a business perspective.
Yeah.
Because if there's an issue like now, like it's actually quite simple. We're together every day. So if someone's like, hey, here's this contract for something, what do you think about this?
I
You
guess
know what I
the
mean?
company a good company.
Yeah.
I mean, we really come at it like ethically. Do they treat their employees well?
Right.
Then if they don't, then we don't accept their sponsorship.
And then so you don't have to have business meetings anymore because it's like,
A text or a call.
yeah, we just do it one-on-one and then we let the team know. Hey, Josh and I talked on the phone. We decided to not do this or to do this. And so in that regard, 50-50 felt great. But then on the show, it was like, hey, we can run a company together, but we need the dynamic of a third voice.
We can't fill the
You
gap.
have to have, and it took us a month.
Yeah.
It took us a month to go, and it was him. He goes, I think we need another voice, man.
Yeah.
And so now we have a rotating third seat, which ironically enough has been one of the best things that ever happened to us.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the different voices and the perspectives are very, very cool.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, the cool thing about that, the rotating, seat is you get folks that you wouldn't have had an hour-long conversation with to begin with, probably, just from different walks of life or whatever.
Yes.
But you get that because you're a guest-driven show.
Absolutely.
But then you get the perk of them walking away and going, hey, I was on the show.
Yeah.
You should watch. So then their moms and their friends and all their stuff, they're tuning in.
Yep.
It just benefits the show. And we would have never come up with it if it hadn't been a necessity. We just, we
True,
had to.
we would never.
No, I agree with you. I think a lot of after you don't really see the one or two man podcasts anymore.
Right.
And I think when you do, I think a lot of them are kind of like OGs and they're really
100%.
like 1,000 episodes in.
Yeah.
Like a Joe Rogan or the Burt Kreischer, Tom Segura podcast.
Right.
I think the dollops in like the 600s.
And see,
Right.
that's,
Yeah.
And I think the other ones that you really have that are like one or two people are like Crime Junkie episodes.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
They're deep dives.
They're deep dives.
Right.
So it's not necessarily like more of a pop culture or a specific topic like you guys do in Florida or, or just for us, like
Right.
you have to have the third because you have to have the guest.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And when it's kind of cool. The one thing I will say when we go two or three, because sometimes when my brother can show up because he's been ever since the hurricane last year.
Yeah.
He's been stuck because he works in Fort Myers, pool cage guy.
Oh,
right?
jeez.
My God, 7 years worth of work all built up from one hurricane.
Wow.
So
True.
he's working like 12-hour days, 6-7 days a week.
Unreal.
Yeah. So we keep asking him to come up, but he's like, bro, I can't.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which also at the moment, like where a disaster happens is absolutely terrible.
Yep.
But the people that follow through, like he's making a lot of money
Yeah.
right now.
He's
So-
banking.
Right.
Deservedly so.
yeah, he's like, I need to bank up on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I tell him every time, I'm like, hey, just because you're a single dad, like that makes you greedy and you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I totally get where you're coming from. So now, have you guys, speaking of that, like you guys said, you really mesh pretty well in almost every aspect.
Yep.
Have you ever had an incident where things really kind of like clash, whether it be entertainment wise, creatively, or anything? And how did you get through it?
That's a great question.
So the most recent, and it wasn't a clash, but like, so once we decided to go, once we went to, we thought we almost need to revamp everything.
Yeah.
Which is where you would expect some type of clash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So luckily Wayne knows people, and he knows a very creative girl named Jenna O'Brien, and she drew up plans to redo the studio.
Really?
3 different sets.
Yeah.
And this just shows you how like Wayne and I are kind of on the same wavelength. Like the first one, I think Wayne and I looked at it. I'm like, I like it.
That's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah. And then she scrolls up and she shows the second one. I'm like, I think that's the one though. And then Wayne's like, yeah, that's the one.
That's the one.
Third one's the one we picked.
Oh. I think in the
Keep going.
Yeah.
I think
I did it, man. See, this is what I do every time. See, when I'm left solo, it's the light.
Okay.
You're good, dude. You're good. The way you reacted, I thought like a snake came in here.
Yeah, I thought the microphone's not on.
Pull it. He shit his pants. I saw it.
Well, you're in good company.
Yeah.
As soon as he looks over,
Yeah.
I know.
I know.
Yeah, I know. I saw that shift. Cheek to cheek.
Yeah, it's coming in hot, man.
Yes.
No.
That was great.
So no, but what he was saying was too. I remember on the second blueprint,
Yep.
we both like, oh, that's the one.
Yeah.
And I think one of us even said, no need to show number 3.
Oh, 100%.
We love
yeah.
this one.
Yeah.
And the third one drops, and I'm like, I love that one a lot.
And I'm like,
And I look over him, he's like, I like that one a lot. And but I think that's the thing, man, is like creatively, I think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to find someone that you're on the same page with, that we just happen to have known each other our whole lives. Like, you know, and I say that just happen to because a lot of people have longevity and not chemistry.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
yeah, there's proximity. For
Yeah.
us.
And
Especially in a creative environment.
100%. We met a guy 6 months ago, give or take, named Zach. Zach's now our content manager. We have a lot of chemistry with Zach. Not longevity. We just met the guy.
Yeah.
But it worked out that way. It's rare. Awesome. It's rare to have both, where you have longevity and chemistry, and the comfort level to go. Set 2 is not my favorite, not knowing if set 2 is my favorite or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just happens to be that we were on the same page with that kind of stuff. We redesigned, or we had folks do this, redesigned the entire set, the entire logo, the entire intro song, and I don't think we bumped heads once.
No.
We spent more money than we've ever spent in our entire lives.
Yeah.
We did. I mean, we made more decisions in this 2-month window where any one of those could have gone off the rails and caused a major problem.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things where all along the way, it was like small things like, I would like maybe this a tiny bit different. Yeah, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, but that was it. The whole thing was like, you know, just bam, bam, bam. But I think the hardest thing was getting over one of the original hosts leaving.
Yeah.
Like, that's tough.
Yeah.
That is.
You know?
I can imagine that. Yeah.
But I think again,
And for better things.
Yeah.
right.
Like for success.
Right.
Like if he had just like, you know, passed away, it would be like, okay. But like
50-50 split, baby.
Yeah. But like to see him just like, you know,
Oh man.
to see him just like bank.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
You're like,
okay.
should I be
Yeah,
banking?
makes sense.
Well,
Yeah.
but I think that's the thing is like when you make it through the hard times, it makes you appreciate it, what you have, but it also, it makes you stronger. So whenever people go, oh, well, like, you know, if they say something like around the lines of like, you know, is your show going to go away when if you run out of Florida stories, or is your show going to go away if this happens or whatever, you know, it's like, you have no idea what we've been through.
Yeah.
Like you have no idea, not just as brothers, but as a company, so you go through that and you hate it at the time, but you don't trade it for anything because it gives you that foundation of like, we're not going to get derailed.
Yeah.
That's a confidence a lot of folks don't have creatively, I don't think.
I mean, you would think the divorce of me and his sister
Oh yeah, he was married to my sister, and man, then he,
would cause.
Really?
Yeah, there was like a 8-year window when I was married to her.
yeah.
And then like she walked out in the living room, she's like, should we get divorced? And I was sleeping out there at the time, so I'm like,
You're like, probably.
yeah.
I guess.
I'm like, yeah, I think so, probably.
This is great.
Yeah.
Do you want any more of this?
I'll be okay.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I think, I mean, I told Wayne when I wanted to ask her out, and then I also told him about the divorce.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it was full circle, and then
But that's true.
we
though.
made fun of it on the show, and a lot of the
she came on the show.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
after, because sometimes things become. It takes a bit for something to become a scar, right?
Yeah.
So like when something's fresh, obviously it's still going to bleed. But once it becomes a scar, you're able to go like, well, yeah, come on the show and talk about it. You know what I mean, or whatever. So she came on the show, and dude, I mean, obviously very amicable, and I think it's safe to say too, they're also really close friends still.
Yeah,
and both their partners are friends. You know what I mean?
No, the guy that she's with now. I mean, I would switch for him. I'd switch teams for him. Yeah. Oh, this guy, I don't know if I didn't know they made guys like this.
He's a sweetheart. He's a sweetheart.
Sweetheart, hard worker, kind. He buried one of my dead dogs.
That's true.
Shit.
Yeah.
They're very close, man.
He's like the dude you guys just saw Superbad.
Yeah.
Remember? He's like the sweetest guy ever.
Yeah.
You ever looked into his eyes?
Yeah,
First time you
exactly.
heard the Beatles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
See, they only represented one of those.
I know,
in the
dude.
movie. It wasn't real.
Well, you know what's funny, man? Like it's interesting because like I mean, this is a bit of a gush fest, and I'm aware of that. But when we were in Atlanta, we were there for work.
Yeah.
Be there for work. I mean, you're promoting the show, and we're doing panels and stuff, and doing interviews with people, and then like we were sitting in the hotel room with shout out Jesse Neiman, who's our photographer and web designer, and the three of us were just in Atlanta watching Silence of the Lambs and eating potato chips, and it's like you're just hanging out with your best friends, and you're there for work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're not thinking about that. You're just there having a good time, and then it's like, oh, we have a loose schedule, but it's like, like that's the blessing of it all. Whereas like you're making content people enjoy, and you're working with somebody that you love. Like, I mean, dude, I love our show, but I'm not a podcaster.
Yeah.
Like if he got raptured and I was left behind, like I'm not gonna keep going with the podcast. Yeah. I'm doing it because he's doing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that is something that, in any creative field, for your listeners, whatever you want to do, or maybe it's even business, just find folks you trust and take them with you all the way. You know what I mean? Yes. Like, then you're never alone. You're just doing stuff,
Wow. That's a unique perspective, man. That's pretty. I'm really happy. I hope one day we get big and this is what I do for a career, because my life would sound great if it was like that.
Oh, Jesus.
So kind of fast forward.
You never been to Atlanta in a hotel room with two other guys? It's paradise.
Listen, he said it's
eating potato chips.
I said, listen, there's a time in college. So fast forward now, and like you said, you guys 5 years in November.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. 5 years in November. So, as you guys have moved forward, obviously, ton of success. You guys are loving what you're doing. You're enjoying being around each other, right?
Yeah.
Have you guys ever thought about expanding the horizon, or have you guys focused on like, no, this is the only thing we're going to do?
I think we have expanded.
I think we've tried different avenues. I mean, we've tried early on. We tried like merch, and then it wasn't like any of our strong, skills.
Yeah.
Like I'd say we were all creative, but we didn't know what we were doing. Yeah. And so like we've tried dumb stuff, and I've tried, to say like, well, for the icebreaker, you have to make a song, and just to, embarrass them and to see another side, of their creativity. But we've tried and then backed off.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is, so we have the Spanish version of our show.
Yeah.
Really? Alina Francine Kime, she is the host of the Spanish version of Florida Man on Florida Man, so we just call it Famafam Espanol. And Maddie Lina is the host of the children's version of our show. So we have two different shows under our umbrella. So as far as like expansion goes, like I think, we just now 5 years in started having conversations that are like, what would it look like to umbrella another show? Because Famafam Espanol is still an extension of our property, right? And Sunny Coast Clubhouse is a kids version of our show, is an extension of what we do. What would it look like to umbrella just another show or whatever? Or even looking back into merch again and going like, hey, we don't want to do it, but get somebody to do it for us. You know what I mean? Because naturally, dude, like we're just both writers who are trying to be funny. Yeah. He's more successful at it than I am, but that's what we love doing. You mentioned merch, and we're like, blah.
Yeah, hate it.
It's because dude, like, and again, like, but you have to play to your strengths.
Yeah,
you know
I
would
love to see our merch out there.
Yeah, But so we got to find somebody. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
See how easy that was?
Yeah.
See what I did was I'm so pretty. I just threw my face on it.
Bro, so
We tried that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But my thing is, man, I think that like we have been really fortunate that the people who are on our team are way better than us at what we do. And so the graphic designers, the video guys, and all that stuff, man, they're just great at it.
Yeah.
So
Our video guy was out of town last episode.
this is so true. This just happened on Monday.
We didn't hit record on the camera.
Dude,
So
Josh,
236 episodes in, didn't hit record.
bro, my God. All right, so
Hopefully that's encouraging. I hope that's encouraging.
it is.
Yeah.
It is encouraging. It gives me hope because
I did plug in the hard drive into the camera. I just want to say my part was done.
But Jesse was in the Outer Banks.
Yes.
Yeah, he couldn't hit record or on.
So we're
Whatever the button is.
We're as a matter of fact today we released episode 25.
Oh, congrats, dude.
And we recorded amazing dude. Love this guy. His name's Devin. In the quote we called him Big D.
Yeah. Cool.
And he had such an unbelievable story. Just like 7-8 months ago, he started reading a bunch of David Goggins, and he just got so motivated, and he started finding a little bit healthier ways to do his life, make better choices, stuff. So I brought him on, and I was so stoked to tell his story. But episode 25. I tell all that to show off that we named him Big D.
Yeah.
But besides that, so episode 25. If you guys knew how many times I made that mistake already,
Right.
we should be at episode 30.
We actually have 5 unreleased episodes.
It's 5 unreleased, and they will never be released.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because there is no audio.
They were never recorded. Well, dude, that's
That's us.
It's us, man. But again, dude, like, what's the point of pretending to be something that you're not? I mean, like, you know what I mean?
agree.
Like, bro, like we were fortunate enough. We had these 2 guys on our show on Monday. They're called the Tragedy Academy, and they're incredible.
Pros.
They're from Tampa.
Really?
Great show. Heavy conversation sometimes because their guests all have amazing stories.
All have trauma or tragedy.
Right.
Really?
That's the premise
Yeah.
of their show.
Wow.
And they came to our studio, our home turf, and taught us more than like a master's class. And we were just like, and they're a much younger show than we are, you know what I mean? But it's like if we had pretended to have it all together and know all this stuff, we wouldn't have learned anything.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm going to ask a question. How old were the hosts of that show?
Our age? 42?
Yeah.
Relatively little, middle, younger.
Yeah, they're in their
cast?
40s. Yeah.
It's funny because one thing I've noticed of generation, and again, this is something I've said on our podcast. You guys can choose to disagree. Some people, a couple of our guests have been like, "Nope." I'm not so
Okay.
I've routinely said that our generations coming up are 10 times lazier than what we were. However, one of the things, there's always a counter to every negative. I think there's a positive somewhere.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah.
And one positive that I think is that you see a lot of those younger generation, they're coming up with a lot more emotional intelligence and a better
100%.
ability to understand
Oh, yeah.
bigger things
Right.
a lot quicker.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I asked how old they were. I said, it doesn't surprise me
That they know.
that they know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, to me, now that you've said it, I'm going to go find out who they are. And I'm going to be like, oh my God, I just want to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, these guys
Because
are good.
that's really understanding.
I'll send you links. Yeah.
Thank you. Because really understanding how these people are able to comprehend, not only address the drama that's happened in someone's life, but also give a positive path
Right.
afterwards.
Yeah.
It's honestly like a moving episode, every single episode.
Which is what we discussed because our shows is comedic in nature. So they came on our show and then we came on their show.
Yeah.
So they come on our show, and one of the early fears of mine, I don't know if I vocalized this to you, was like, how do we safely be funny?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I thought they were going to break us psychologically.
Yeah.
He even said in the break,
Yeah, they're good.
in the space between, he was like, we're probably going to cry on their show. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, they just have a way. Yeah. Yeah. Like, okay.
if
Well,
you cry, I'll cry.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but and then we ended up having fun. It was a funny show. But again, that's a heavy thing because you enjoy what you do, right? You have fun.
Yeah.
And they enjoy what they do. But I mean, like, you know, not to belittle what we do or anything, but like we tell jokes. Yeah. Make you laugh. Yeah. They're doing like therapy with people who one of the guys said that he's lost multiple friends to gang violence. Not just like, oh, my friend died. Like all of his homies died.
The host, one of the hosts was on the show like as a guest. Right. And then that's how they become friends because he grew up in Cleveland and just in gang violence. And now he's producing 20 years worth of UFC tough the Ultimate Fighter shows.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
He's just like, if you just like watch the camera, you just see him in the background.
Really?
Just the coolest guy.
That's amazing, dude. That's so funny because I'm like right in the middle of the Ultimate Fighter right now with Conor McGregor. Chandler. Yeah. I'm a huge UFC fan.
Yeah. So what's crazy is we're not, and he.
No, we had an era.
We did.
Yeah, like, there was a window.
That was great. But hey, what's crazy is we're not.
We're not.
No, but like we watched it during the Chuck Liddell era, Tito Ortiz, GSP.
Great era.
Yeah, the classics.
Origin.
Yes, the classics. So we kind of just it got away from us. But what's crazy is like I don't think we even realized his accolades before he came on our show.
Thank goodness we didn't.
Yeah, and he starts. His best friend is a guy called Usman, I guess.
Yeah, Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, and
he's starting an African fighting league.
Yeah, and so he was talking a lot about this stuff.
Well, maybe that's insider information.
It's possible.
Yeah. But either way, we were.
Yeah, he's not bleeping that.
Yeah, he's telling us about it, and we didn't sign an NDA, so it's fine. But he's like he tells us this, and like I know I should be like I've heard the name via osmosis, and I don't watch the UFC.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's like it was wild to see this guy, to circle back around. He has this traumatic upbringing. His life is stressful, and then in his late 30s, he's like, "This is what I'm gonna do with my life."
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like that's huge.
We even mentioned like I think Kimbo Slice, and he's like, "Man, I miss him. He was a good buddy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
That is amazing.
Yeah.
It's so funny because we just interviewed Jack McPherson from Bussin' with the Boys, and when we're sitting there talking, and like you just said, I miss Kimbo Slice, right?
Yeah.
This guy, he was 4 days removed from going to Vegas, where he sat down next to Dana White gambling on blackjack tables for $20,000 a hand.
Goodness.
And he's sitting and he's shaking hands with Joe Rogan, and they're bullshitting about podcasting.
Good God.
And just back and forth. These
unreal.
Things. It's
the levels,
amazing. The levels.
Yeah,
like
right.
You said, the levels.
He's 100 up there,
dude. It's wild. Yeah. So let me ask you this one at a time, Josh. We're gonna go first.
Yeah.
As you see, I had to turn the sign on. We have a segment here we call "Bad Decisions Make Better Stories." Yeah. What is a bad decision that you have made that has actually turned out to be one of the best things that ever happened to you?
That's cool.
I'd say, and it wasn't.
I know exactly what he's going to say.
It was a divorce.
It was the divorce. Yeah. It wasn't abnormal for me to do this, but I had a nice, in a suburb, I had a house, a fenced-in yard, and I had 3 or 4 pit bulls.
Yeah.
All rescues, and I'm doing like I'm cliff whatever it is, cliff walking. Rock climbing.
Rock climbing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Cliff walking.
On VR. And my dogs, I feel my dogs, and they need to go out. So I'm like, okay. So I send them outside, and I'm like, dang, I really want to get back into cliff walking. Let me go get them, right? And so I go outside, and I have this like, it's an island of plants, deep dark foliage. There's no light, and Roxy and Walter are just standing looking into the island. So I'm like, that's weird, but whatever. So I reached my hand down to grab Roxy's chest just to move her. And what I thought happened is that like a pervert had tased me. Because it was just such a sudden shock of pain. And I had no shirt on. And I was drenched in like sweat glistening.
Yeah, it was glistening.
Yeah, because I was rock climbing.
You were Edward Cullen.
I was Edward Cullen, yeah.
Shiny.
Moonlight was hitting me. And I kind of stumbled backwards after I thought the taser hooks were in me. And there was a large cat attached to my hand. And I had to throw it off which is tough because you got a mouth and claws that are in you.
And feet claws.
And feet claws,
And it's just going to drag.
Oh, and it's just like it's trying to claw up me.
Yeah.
And so like I go to reach it and it sees me coming and it just turns its head on my thumb meat, which I've said is some of the best meat on my body.
Some of the best meat
easily.
on my body.
And so finally I tried to just huck it and it doesn't want to be hucked naturally like that. And I finally get it loose. I huck it. My dogs go after it. So I go after my dogs. It gets me again. Same arm. I finally huck it off. And I've hucked off a lot of good guys back in the day. But I had to huck off a cat. And that's a different world. And so I run inside and I call my girlfriend at the time and I'm like, hey, just a large cat attacked me. And she's like, I'll bring over bandages. And so I'm not thinking anything. She pulls up, she comes in, and she goes, oh, I left the bandages in the car. And that's when it clicked. I'm like, the cat may be still up there. I mean, she just like walked in. And so she shines the lights from her car, and there's just a cat sitting in the rain looking at me. And I'm like, I don't think that's a normal cat. It turns out animal control comes, and they go, are you on Berkeley?
Yeah.
It's probably a juvenile bobcat.
Oh my God. Dude.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You were attacked by a bobcat in your backyard.
Yeah. And I had to get rabies shots, which honestly, disease control, they say call this number and it's a voicemail.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you need a rabies shot? We'll get back to you. Yeah, it's something like that. And I'm like, well, if they don't think it's a big deal, then I'm not going to think it's a big deal. Even though rabies is 100% mortality.
Yeah.
Like once, if you got it, you're dead.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, I'm like, so like a week later, I called them. They go, you didn't go? And I'm like, go where? Where am I supposed to go? A rabies store? How do I get rid of this?
CVS?
Yeah. And they go, no, you're supposed to go to the hospital. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm shredded, but like I'm shredded anyways. Right. So I go to the hospital and they inject me all over my body. They have to give me so much injections that like they have to put in my thighs and my arms and my thumb meat, which that sucked.
Again. Yes.
Yeah. Because it's good meat.
Yeah.
And then, 3 months later, a bill comes for $10,000. So,
Oh my God.
yeah. So luckily it created a story
Yes.
that I got to tell. I've got to tell it in multiple spots.
Yeah.
On stage, off stage.
On stage, off stage. And it sucked.
The bill.
The bill sucked. The decision to go out there. I remember calling it an asshole, which might have pissed it off. But it was an asshole thing to do to attack me.
It was.
Yeah.
It is.
That's funny.
Not fair.
Yeah.
I love the idea of the cat being in the bushes, and it's like, like I'm just gonna give it a warning shot. I'm not gonna do anything, and then he curses at it, and it's like, that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
I don't like this.
Looks at all the dogs. Did you hear what you called me?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I had
weren't
no
even
choice.
barking. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so good, dude.
I had no choice.
It sucked.
You did a split second look. This is a poker tail. When he says the bad decision, you look down at your thumb meat, and I was like, here it comes.
Yeah. Because I still have a hard time remembering which hand it happened on.
Yeah.
Even though it was 2 years. It may have been 2 years ago, but it was definitely my right hand.
Yes.
'Cause that's where
Dude,
good meat is.
I can't tell you how many people of influence have
And under the influence.
and under the influence,
under the influence.
have reached out and be like, man, can Josh just tell me the Bobcat story?
Yeah. And is it real?
And is it real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's real, dude.
Yeah.
And what's crazy, I had a guy call me one time. He's like, and this guy's of influence, and he's very successful in his line of entertainment. And he goes, "Hey man, is Josh around?" And I was like, "No, why?" It was like 9 at night.
Yeah.
We don't live together.
Yeah.
And
He's in the tub.
Yeah. And he goes, they go, "I've got some friends over. I just want to know if they could tell the Bobcat story." I was like, "What, just hand the phone to him?" But no, he's not here. But that, I mean, that is such a memorable thing that came from like a bad decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we were 150 plus episodes in,
Yeah.
which would have been great, like in the beginning, to have something fun to tell.
Yeah.
But like that one came and
That one came and conquered.
conquered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Wayne, what do you got for us?
So it's funny because as I was thinking about this,
Is it 9/11?
9/11, yeah. No, I'm just kidding. No, he's like, what?
It's like,
It was the training the pilots.
Yeah.
Training the pilots thing.
Yeah,
He's like, I
used to
regret
be,
training pilots.
Dude, that's so no. That's funny because I don't think I've ever told the story on the air, and if anybody would know this, it would be him. But whenever I was in middle school, I had like a select group of friends who, you know, they're your besties. You know, they're usually most guys have like a guy or two that like you hang out with, and there's two dudes, and we'd always get in trouble and stuff like that. But going into high school, you know, you begin to kind of drift apart a little bit, and you get girlfriends, and there's this whole thing. And I remember one of the guys, and I know he wouldn't mind me saying this, but like he started dating this girl, and me and the other guy who were single were like, man, like. He's got it for what a chump! Like you can't come hang out play video games because some girl, you know. And then
What are you, gay?
Dedication.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
dedication.
Yeah.
And so, so me and my other homie, you know, we're just kind of slumming it with no girlfriends, and then he gets a girl.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, I'm like, man, like this sucks, you know. Like,
So
no,
in your mind, like, this is bullschlager.
yeah, there's like I'm just single the rest of my life, and so like I'm like 13. I'm like, why God? But like I met
And
this,
just hit with erections.
I just learned how to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Hey,
Turns out it's involuntary.
Yeah.
I was hoping to get one for Christmas.
Yeah, I know.
A solid one.
Few and far between these days. But so anyways, I say that to say that that was the first time I opened my eyes to like maybe I should like pursue a relationship with somebody. And so this girl came along and we had been friends for a bit, and it was like the scales fell from my eyes, and I was like, God, she's beautiful, and I might just ask her out sometime. And I was talking to a youth pastor of mine at the time, and he said, well, girls like it when you're funny. And if you're into funny stuff and you make them laugh, you can.
Okay.
Just looking at Josh's face reacting to that, it's like,
I don't think he knows the story.
No, I wonder which direction he went.
yeah.
I could see him doing a whole Charlie
I'm
Chaplin
wondering,
bit.
yeah.
Remember there, right there.
Yeah.
Hey, see?
I could see that happening.
yeah.
There's a lot of options.
Well, so and what the youth pastor was alluding to was she's out of your league, bud. So if you're gonna do this, you got to be funny, because like the only way you're gonna compete with like, you know, Jockey Jones and Grady Judd, you know, is
And Jackie Chan.
yeah, exactly,
And Jackie Chan.
yeah, is to be funny. And so at the time,
He's a big Gallagher fan at the time. Like the watermelon smashing comedian.
Oh God, I wish that was it. I wish that was
Let
it.
me impress you.
So I download on Napster illegally. I download this band called the Bloodhound Gang.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, yeah.
And the Bloodhound Gang, they're famous for a song called "Baby, Me and You Ain't Nothing But Mammals."
Yep.
But let's do it like they do on the Discovery Channel. That's their single.
That was their big hit.
But all their songs to a 13-year-old boy are funny.
Yeah.
They're funny,
Raunchy.
but it's teenage boy humor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't have any discernment at 13.
No.
And so there's a song that, if I'm being honest with you, I don't think I remember the lyrics exactly. I just remember crying, laughing, and it was clearly sarcasm.
Yeah.
If you know the artist.
Yeah.
But I went home, I downloaded the album. This song makes me laugh, and I go, you know what? I'm gonna send this to her.
Cool.
Because she's gonna laugh and go, this guy's into funny stuff.
I
And
should be
then
into
bada
him.
bing, bada boom, we're dating.
The connection. Yeah.
Yes. I copy paste the lyrics into AOL Instant Messenger.
Oof.
I sent her the message. It says her away message is on. I'll get it when I get out of school, it says. I go away. Next day I go to school, and everybody's being...
What's the AIM name it's coming from?
Yeah.
What's yours?
My AIM name at the time was Clarity 777. I was the most popular kid in my youth group.
Okay. I got one up on you about that.
The screen names.
My aim name
Yeah.
of all time was It's All in the Fro.
Wow. Did you have a fro?
No.
Wow.
However, I watched the movie Undercover Brother religiously.
It's so good. So good.
Yeah.
So anyways, the song I had sent her, the title of it was I Hope You Die.
Well, there's
And-
a jump.
And dude, and so
And they say sarcasm doesn't come across via.
I know
it doesn't.
But
at
again,
all.
and that's like the turning page in technology too, where AIM was new to everybody.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. I sent it to her. It's obviously not funny in that context. The lyrics actually were relatively threatening out of context.
Yeah, I know you're at school right now. When you get out,
Here's your address.
yeah, they were very specific to this girl.
And so I was a trouble kid anyway. I was always getting in trouble. And so because of all that bad decisions, my parents go, "Hey, you got to leave the school and we're going to put you in Christian school." And
No way.
so I leave all my friends. I go to Christian school, and within a week met this guy.
Yeah.
And because of that Christian school, ended up at the university that I was at, where I met my wife. I've got 2 beautiful kids now, and so like, but I often look back on that. I've never told it on the show, but I look back on that time and go like, one, no one ever had emotional intelligence conversations with me. No one ever sat down with me and teach me what's proper and what's not proper.
Yeah.
And except for the tooth pastor, who's just trying his best, and it's not his fault. He told me to be funny, and I wasn't funny. I was
He's
threatening.
shaping his faux hawk at the time. Hey, you don't send that to girls.
Yeah, exactly right. He's painting his pinky nail black, but it was statistically a bad decision. But every good thing in my life came from that.
Yeah.
Every good thing in my life came from me going to that private, crappy Christian school. And now I look back and go like, man, like that's insane.
That's amazing.
But yeah.
That's wild.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
So I know we talked about the younger generation, and maybe this will open our eyes. Do you think like we view them as lazy, but they also view like they see the work and the turmoil that we went through, and they go, it's not worth it. Look where that generation is. They didn't get nothing from it. Because that's how I would view, like someone who worked this hard as myself, and like corporations and stuff, just like they cut you. You're a number.
Yeah.
And so I just think like maybe they see what we went through, and that like we didn't get much from the hard work, and maybe they go, it's not,
Yeah.
it's not worth it.
So I would counteract that. It's funny because now we're getting a little bit onto some of the topics we hit a little bit, right? But also the humor stuff was great. However, I digress. In that perspective, I'll tell you just from my opinion. And again, I've been ridiculed many times for my opinion.
Yeah.
But I will say, I think it really depends on a case-by-case basis. And I think that you can say that for everything out there. And I know it's kind of like people will use it as a blanket. Oh, no, I can rely on this.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think that you have to, because I don't think there's any situation that's truly the same anymore. I think a lot of people have a very unique perspective.
Yeah.
And they have a very unique situation.
Right.
I am confident enough to say that I think a little bit of a bold statement would say majority of kids in a younger generation all say they want to be YouTubers, and they all want to do this and they want to do that, but it's instant gratification based upon what they see. They're like Jake Paul, Logan Paul, billionaires,
Mr. Beast,
all this, Mr. Beast, huge, right?
Oh,
yeah.
And what a lot of them don't realize is they don't realize that those guys spent 10 years,
easily,
12, 15
grind.
years, putting together stuff
That's a great
that
point.
sucked.
Yeah.
True.
And they just kept going. And then one day, the right person saw it. Then it shared it. Then it shared. Then it shared. Then it shared. Then they started getting a trend. Then they could pick it up.
So it's a perseverance.
It's a perseverance trip, yes. And that's what I'm telling you. I don't think a lot of kids, and I'm very bold to say this, but my daughter is a great example, sadly, because she watches, she doesn't anymore, but she used to watch YouTube 24/7. And she would always talk about, she would make her own videos and just a little recording on her little pad and be like, hey guys, make sure you subscribe and follow, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? And the one time where we tried anything, obviously, naturally, she got 4 views.
Yep.
And she's just like,
Instant discouraged.
incredibly discouraged.
Yeah.
And that's what I noticed. And that's why I say, I use the word lazy, but you're right. I should probably be a little bit more definitive when I use that term.
Isn't it fascinating though? Because being in a creative field like yourself, like you know,
like yourself.
well, yeah, like the three of us,
Like
we're fortunate.
ourselves.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, like ourselves.
Our diet starts tomorrow.
100%.
But you know, we are at a point in history where we benefit from readily available technology.
Yeah.
But we also were alive when that wasn't readily available. So, for example, I grew up in music. So back in the day, if you wanted to release an album, you had to save up your life savings, and then you spend it, and then you hit the road in support of that album, and hope to make enough money to record another one. And then you just starve. You just starve and you starve and you starve and you starve, right?
Yeah.
Now, any kid can wake up and go, I'm gonna download this app and make a song, and I'm okay with that. I think it's great. Yeah, I think it's great. But my point being is if someone hated my music growing up, I had other stuff to go along with it. Experiences. I had, the work ethic, or I got to see maybe 8 people show up to the show, but I got to see 8 people's faces be happy.
Yep.
True.
Whereas now the kids have it readily available to them to make the stuff. And because it's so oversaturated, really available to be instantly disappointed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it sucks because it's like my daughters are struggling with the same thing, and they want to do like what their dad and what their uncle does and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, but like it's impossible for you to understand the amount of hard work that we've put in, and you can't until I couldn't in my 20s. I wouldn't have been able to until in my 30s. I understand the value of our time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's something that, man, like it's I envy the generation before us to never have to experience the turning page of technology, and I feel bad for the generation behind us to grow up with it and realize that it's probably, if you want to do it, it's probably a bit out of reach for you at this point.
Yeah. And it's funny, I think if you were combined a generation before us, that with the generation that's coming ahead of us,
Perfect.
You put those into the same human being, which is funny because a lot of people say that's why we are that generation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think if you really took 100% of that, 100% of this, and put it together, and you'd be like, that would be the person that would be immensely successful, happy, constantly, because a lot more self-awareness, but also a lot more toughness.
Oh, well, dude, I mean,
Yeah.
some people have said it to me about like, to us, about our generation, your generation wouldn't survive World War II. And that's probably true.
Not.
That's probably true.
Yeah. The numbers aren't there for anybody. Though.
Yeah, and that
percentage wise.
Yeah, and that was very unique time in history that they were called to, and they showed up for it, right?
Yeah.
It's hypothetical. We don't know how we would respond at World War II. But with that being said, we have the comfort and the privileges we have because of them.
Yeah.
So they don't know what it's like to grow up in relative comfort like we do.
That's correct.
So the reason why we wouldn't have responded in World War II is because of their sacrifice. So there's, and that begats, right?
Yeah.
So like my kids get the pleasure of sitting at home and going, my YouTube channel's not popping off. And I'm like, my dad would have beat me for saying that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not really, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that's something that like, like our hard work pays off for them. And then their struggles are a direct, benefactor of that. Like it's wild.
No, I absolutely agree. So, all right, now we're gonna transition, guys. We're gonna bring it to the head, right? We're gonna bring it to the head.
go.
Sad part, I'm gonna be honest. I don't understand. I'm having a blast right now.
It's a lot of fun.
I
Dude.
really don't.
Yeah, you do.
I don't understand.
And you're great at what you do, man. It's good.
No, you guys.
Thank you, man.
Listen, you guys made it so exciting. Remember Blue Pill? So, last segment we call it Spice of the Week, right?
Cool.
Sponsored by Joe's Backyard Smokehouse. So, Spice of the Week is something that you guys have to decide on your own.
Yep.
Something that happened that made your week just a little bit better. It can be a very big thing. It can be a very, very small thing. Anything that you look back on, you're like, hey, you know what? That was awesome. And I'll give you 2 examples.
Yeah.
Someone once came on and said the spice of their week was, hey, I made my first social media video by myself, edited it, blah, blah, blah. And it was a big moment for me, and that was really cool.
That's awesome.
That was great.
Yeah.
One time, we had another spice of the week where I couldn't sleep, and it was 2 a.m, and I opened the cabinet, and I saw a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oh my gosh.
And that cereal smacked. and it was so good.
Heck yeah.
I get to Friday. It happened on Tuesday night. I get to Friday. I'm like, God, that Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
That's the best moment of it. Yeah.
It was, it's just, but that's the thing, basically. And the idea is to make sure that all of our viewers that come in and tune in, everybody can have a little bit of a rough week.
Yep.
Everybody sometimes has great weeks. Whatever it is, there's always that moment that we can look at that we can always drive a little bit of inspiration from.
Easily.
Or the moment that we can be very thankful for that our week was a little bit better or great.
Cool.
That's awesome.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Usually we go down the line towards me going last, but if you'd like, I can go first if you
Cool.
like.
Yeah.
You want me to go first?
Please.
Yeah,
Okay,
please.
fantastic. So,
Let's hear it.
very stoked about this. So, my spice of the week was, this is going to be very, very little.
Okay.
You know, some people, everyone usually goes pretty big.
Yeah.
And then I look like a dumbass. However, so I'm very excited.
Yeah.
So my spice of the week was actually, it's going out to making sure that your pool is clean.
Okay.
In Florida,
Yeah.
pools are very popular.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed, we had a hurricane last year, which, as we said, my brother's working because of. For some reason, probably about a month after that, I said, you know what? I've been watching my pool guy clean the pool for the longest time. I said, I can do this.
Yeah.
I got it.
I've been studying the technique.
I've been studying this, the technique.
Through the
right?
blinds.
Through the blinds, yes.
And he has a rule: don't watch me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the strokes are amazing.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's amazing. So I'm like, you know what? Forget it. Whatever. Ever since probably 2 or 3 months after this hurricane, for some reason, it's just not, it's not blue. It's not sparkling. It's not, and I'm just like, dude, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
We get to a point finally 2 months ago, thing where we are. I go to Ash and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm about to give up. I'm ready to call it a day.
Yeah.
Right. And she goes, all right, let's do this, Mike. Maybe we just need to ask help.
Yeah.
Right? And I
Sure.
was-
Yeah.
And
It's just tough.
Yeah.
It's a little tough because
Yeah.
immediately my pectorals started flexing.
Yeah.
I don't
And
need
help
no
from
help.
who?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll kick his ass.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
will beat his ass.
Right, yeah.
And immediately she goes, a girl works at Pitch Penny.
Now
It's
we're
not
talking.
a guy.
Yeah.
And I was
Right.
like, now we're talking.
Yeah.
So long story short, I wake up Wednesday, and this coming weekend, kids are having their birthday party. Avery, my daughter, just turned 10, July 15th.
That's so cool.
July 25th, my son is turning 9.
Cool.
And so for the first time in a long time, it's so funny when we walk out of here, it's not going to be as clear because I just put shit in it, so it's all.
well, I think that's the rule: don't shit in your pool. Yeah, don't put shit.
So
in
I woke up. I woke up Monday morning,
Yeah.
and it was sparkling.
No.
For the first time in so many months.
That's huge, though.
So you
And
did all
it
the
was.
chemistry and then
Got the chemistry right,
Oh
and
my gosh.
I walked around and I have morning meetings at like 9 o'clock for where I work. It was like I got up 7 o'clock, and like 7:15, I'm holding my coffee and I'm just walking by Ash waiting for her to wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
she finally
Come
gets up. She's
outside.
like, "What?" I was like, "Hey, you want to have coffee outside?" You know? And
Yeah.
then I'm just sitting there, and she didn't notice naturally, and
Yeah.
I'm like really proud of myself. And I go, "Do you see the pool?" And she
Yeah.
goes, "Yeah, it's great." That was a little bit of a letdown. However,
Right.
However, I felt so good about it.
That's so
And
cool.
I've been carrying a high ever since that moment.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
I love that, dude.
Thank you. I
Because
feel-
that is stressful, bro. Because like our pool will go like it'll be blue, and then like 6 hours later it's green, and I'm like, what is going on, dude?
Yeah.
The
The
summer-
weirdest thing is they went like 6 months not doing anything, and it was stayed sparkling blue.
It's weird.
Yeah, like right when they moved in, I don't know what.
It's something we
the
did
real-
for sure.
I don't know what the realtor did, but like I remember like you not touching it.
I know.
and,
like you said.
and then it was like one day, boom.
Yeah, that
Like you said, don't shit in the pool.
just don't do it. We had a pool guy that like it was staying green for him as well.
Yeah.
And when we were like, hey man, like it's been a bit like. Man, I thought the pool would be blue. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's
And he goes, I think it's all the sunscreen you guys are wearing. And I was like, I don't think our sunscreen is turning our pool green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think
It's really not.
So it's tough, man. Congrats for
Yeah, it is.
knocking that in, dude. That's
Thank you.
huge.
Thank you. I'm very proud of myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been
So
tooting my horn.
my spice of the
got?
week this week. I've got two. I don't think they're small, but they're both gifts. My birthday was back June 21st. So kind of sporadic birthday gifts coming in, and my one that I received was one that Josh 3D printed for me, and it is it's a teepee, like a hut from the movie Midsummer. Yeah. And if you've seen that movie, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, it gets lit on fire with some people in it. And he made me an incense holder that is the teepee from that movie.
Yeah.
And one of the people who's on fire.
Not okay, Jeff.
Well, it's like a ceremony in the film.
Yeah.
And so one of the people in the movie who's in the fire is wearing a bear suit.
Yeah.
And so inside this teepee, if you take it apart, there's a little bear in there that holds the incense, and you put the lid back on, and it makes your house smell good. Yeah. So that's been nice.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and then I got
it was fun to design.
I got a golf shirt from our editor, Suzette. Shout out. Cool. She got me a golf shirt for my birthday from Australia. And she said, it's very cryptic. She goes, "Hey, your gift's going to be about 3 weeks late." And I was like, "That's fine." Yeah. And then she goes, and if it doesn't work out, it's gonna be like a 3-month turnaround, get your replacement.
Okay.
And I was like,
where's this coming from?
Yeah. And then it turns out like Australian clothes are like if it doesn't fit, like you might as well keep it because like you're gonna get it 90 days later. You know? Yeah. So, but that's my highlight, man. I two amazing gifts, and I'm not really a gift guy. Like as far as like, you know, I value like time together and that kind of stuff, and you know, and so like. But when I am giving gifts, like they mean a lot to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. So especially when they're creative and there's effort involved. And so that was good. That's my spice of the week.
My spice of the week. I think so therapy. I'm in therapy, which I think should be mandatory.
Yeah, dude.
Just talking to someone about your problems.
Yep.
And I get a lot out on the show. But this therapist is trying just breathing techniques, and I really didn't give it much. And we're doing this via Zoom, and she has me like closing my eyes. And honestly, after like 30 minutes of her just like walking me through breathing and just feeling, it just kind of like worked. And she's like, it's a muscle. It's the same thing you would work out a muscle. Do this every day. And the odd thing is, like the guys that we brought on the show, Tragedy Academy, I just brought it up to him, and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like, it's weird how well it works. Yeah, it's just like breathing, but breathing exercises. And he goes, yeah, man, I start my morning off with it, and sure enough, while we were recording, his alarm went off, and it said meditation, breathing exercises. Wow, because he's just on schedule. And that's been the spice. I mean, I'm 40. I didn't think breathing was a big deal until you really just take the time and you sit in it. And I'd say I feel just lighter. Just
that's amazing.
Better every day.
Dude, that's a great one.
Yeah,
that's a very unique one. Yeah. I've never heard that. We've never heard any kind of thing like that. That's very cool.
The one specific one was like alternate nasal breathing. Just in one and out the other. And you're blocking it with your hand. Yeah. And I even mentioned it to my psychiatrist. Like I have to talk to so many people. And she's like, yeah, that's been around like 1,000 years. You're just hearing about it?
You're just hearing about it?
And I'm like, okay, sorry, it's not in my circles.
You're the last one to show up. You're the last person.
You're the last one.
Well, what's funny is like, you know, when you figure out something that like is a direct like benefit to you. Yeah. Like that doesn't cost you anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's what he sent it to me, and he's like, "You gotta try this." And like, you know, I mean, again, like that's to circle back around to the previous generation stuff. Yeah, they get the benefit of all the therapy. You know what I mean? That's like we get to discover it at our late 30s. You know what I mean? Like
now everybody pushes that stuff to be free.
Yeah, right. Oh, right. And so
I'm in agreement.
Yeah, man, and that's huge, dude. And by the way, man, just like I don't know how you end your shows. I'm not trying to wrap it up. I'm just saying you do a great job here. This is great and it's fun.
Thank you. And this would be the spice. If we're asked next week what the spice of last week was,
agreed.
It'd be this.
That is cool.
It's wonderful, man. Because
awesome. Thank you.
You're great at what you do, and like I mean, we get offered to do a lot of guest spots, and we don't really, you know, we don't really do a ton, and so, but this has been wonderful.
That's awesome.
Like really
man.
good, yeah.
It's wow. You know what? Hey, I'm a little excited now.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Both ways.
Us as well.
Man.
Awesome. So, guys. So if you haven't checked it out, right, we have the Florida Man, Florida Men.
Florida Men on Florida Man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
so plural, singular. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys look them up. You guys are on all kinds of socials. Why don't you guys, as a matter of fact, why don't you guys take, whoever wants to lead it off,
Please.
take 20, 30 seconds, socials, wherever they can find you.
Yeah, 100%. So we are on every social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Threads. It's at FMOFM Podcast. It's FMOFM, which stands for Florida Men on Florida Man Podcast. And Florida news, history, comedy, lighthearted, family friendly, and it's just it's an escape from reality.
I agree 1,000%.
Thank you,
When I first saw it, because obviously we have a little bit more of a personal relationship, being friends a little bit, but when I first saw some of the clips, I was like, I don't know who that is. He's hilarious.
Hell yeah.
I wanted to text Dwayne and be like, hey, what are you guys doing?
But thank you for the invite, though, man.
Yeah.
This has
Dude,
been
thank
great.
you guys for coming on. So if you haven't, make sure, like you said, go check them out. Make sure you guys give them a subscribe and follow, as my daughter would say. Subscribe and follow.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button. Do all the things. But
Yeah.
again, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you go check them out. Peace out.
See ya.
2 dimes and a token.
Do you make love